Well, good afternoon, everybody. This is your update for Wednesday, May 27th. I'm Terry Walsh, the CEO of Friendship Villages, and also the Executive Director of Friendship Village in Sunset Hills. I'm happy to see you today. We have a few things to report that are favorable, and that's good. Our care center in Chesterfield, as you may have known, and if you read our website at friendshipvillagestl.com and our COVID updates, you will know that at this point in time, Chesterfield only has 2 positive cases of COVID-19 remaining in the facility, and they are both soon to graduate from the COVID care center there and get nursed back to health and move back to their normal accommodations. I can't tell you how proud we are of the staff of the COVID care center and the entire village care center there in Chesterfield for the work that they've been doing during this COVID crisis. As we all know, there have been some tough times there in Chesterfield, and they've had a lot to deal with because that virus spread so quickly and secretly, it's hard to nail it down. And so the staff there, as well as the residents, have been wrestling with the COVID-19 virus for quite some time. And, praise the Lord and knock on wood that I think they're coming to the end of this. What we did last Friday was participate in the state of Missouri governor's program for testing all of the remaining residents in the care center in Chesterfield, as well as the staff. All of the residents have been tested now, and in fact, and all of those results came back. There were only 3 residents as of this recording, only 3 residents that had not yet been tested because we were awaiting approval from their family members to get them tested, and those have now happened. And so those residents have been tested, those 3. So we don't have the results on the 3 yet, but we have results on everybody else. And at this point in time, nobody else has come up positive, and that is a wonderful piece of news that I'm really happy to share with you. All we know at this point in time is that there are only 2 residents left in the care center in Chesterfield who still have COVID-19, and they are recovering very nicely in the COVID care center. That is terrific. Now we hope that they will both graduate by the end of Saturday coming up and move back to their normal living accommodations, and then we won't have any residents in the Chesterfield Village Care Center with COVID-19. That is a wonderful piece of news. At the same time, we tested the employees who have had anything to do with the Village Care Center in Chesterfield. We've tested up to this point 66 additional staff. Now, these are not the employees who had already tested positive for COVID-19 and recovered, but these are new staff who had not been tested at all for COVID-19. So they all got tested as well as part of the governor's program, and every single one of them came back negative. Again, this is a great news story for the Chesterfield Village Care Center. They have been fighting this battle for weeks, and they're winning. They're about to finish winning the battle. Of course, the battle is never going to be over until COVID is over in the entire community, and we know that we're a long way from that. But as far as the footprint on the Chesterfield campus, we are very, very close. And let's pray to God that we are able to achieve that goal, our goal of getting back to 0 in Chesterfield, and they are very, very close to that, and we're very happy and proud of them for doing that. At Sunset Hills, we've done something similar. At Sunset Hills, we have 6 residents in our Village Care Center who tested positive for COVID-19 over the last week or week and a half. They're in the COVID Care Center in Sunset Hills, and they're being treated by expert staff just like the residents who were in the COVID Care Center in Chesterfield were. One of the things that had been done in Sunset Hills was to compartmentalize the residents in the Village Care Center early on in the process and restrict staff from moving from one unit to another early on in the process. And so we had a cluster, a small cluster of both employees and residents in one of the units in the care center at Sunset Hills. Some of them, a small number of those, a handful of those employees and residents did contract the COVID-19 coronavirus. But because all of those residents had been somewhat sequestered in their living quarters, in their rooms, for quite some period of time, we think that we've stopped the spread on the campus and in that care center. And so in order to check that independently as separately from the governor's program, we've had all of the residents on that particular unit tested now, and all but one came up negative for COVID-19. We've had no other staff come up positive for COVID-19 either, so we had one more resident that was discovered in that entire unit out of 23 that were tested last week who came up positive, and 22 came up negative. So that's a great news story. So that gives a total of 6 residents in the care center in Sunset Hills that are being treated in our COVID care center at Sunset Hills for COVID-19, and no others at this point. And also at the same time, there are no other residents within the entire care center who are showing any signs or symptoms of COVID-19. Now, what's going to happen after this is we are going to continue independently testing other units until we're all done with all of them, other units within the care center at Sunset Hills, just as a precaution to see if anybody else has it within the care center. We hope to finish that work by the end of this week, by the end of Friday, and then we'll have a snapshot in time as to whether any more residents on the Sunset Hills campus, and particularly in the care center, have COVID-19. And also as well, we'll be testing voluntarily the staff in addition to that. And we will know then whether we've successfully compartmentalized and isolated the COVID-19 affected residents and staff into one area in the care center at Sunset Hills and prevent the spread to other places within the care center. So lessons learned, Sunset Hills was able to learn from Chesterfield, follow the same practices, setting up a similar COVID care center to what Chesterfield set up so successfully. And so overall, as an overall company-wide operation, everybody's done very well with COVID-19 in terms of our success in treating it, nursing residents back to health, isolating it, and ending it. Now, we haven't finished the war. The war is still raging on, and we've all been watching the news, and the state of Missouri still has COVID-19, and so do we, but we're on the downhill slope, and I would pray that we are at the very tail end of that far end of the curve where it tapers off into nothing. And I hope that you all pray with us that we achieve that goal and that we stay there. We've made great progress in avoiding bringing the COVID-19 coronavirus to our campuses, particularly in the independent living and assisted living areas. As we do that, we still have to maintain our vigilance with all of our protocols and our ability to remain COVID-free by practicing good practices with wearing masks, by maintaining our no contact policy with our fellow residents, by maintaining social distancing, and by using hand sanitizer at every opportunity. But we're 100% successful so far in independent living on both campuses. That's a great thing for everybody, that we don't have any residents in independent living on both campuses, on either campus, that have COVID-19. And I appreciate everybody's cooperation and everybody's ability or willingness to stick to it and what we're trying to do. We know that we still have restrictions on non-essential trips off the campus. We know that we still have restrictions in the dining room. And we know that we still want to maintain our vigilance in keeping the coronavirus off of our campuses. As we do that, we are also wrestling with our ability to begin loosening up some of our restrictions and some of our guidelines and protocols to try to bring some life back to the campus. Now, I know you haven't been on quarantine, particularly in Chesterfield when you were on the 14-day quarantine. Our new residents still moving into the campus as first-time residents still undergo a 14-day quarantine. That process still is in place and will remain in place. But we are beginning to look at ways that we can reduce some of the restrictions and allow residents to begin coming back together in groups to do certain things, perhaps like exercise classes or other activities where you're still able to maintain social distancing, where you're able to maintain a no contact policy, and to be able to still interact among yourselves with other residents without endangering yourselves in being able to follow those protocols. We are very excited and interested in wanting to get you out of your apartments and doing things on both campuses and get over with this self-imposed isolation that none of us like. We don't want that to be how you live. You don't want that to be how you live. And we're going to work together on this. And I think beginning by the end of this week, we will be able to begin announcing some new programs that will relax some of those restrictions and allow you to come back together again. Maybe in some fitness classes or some other activities that will allow groups to begin gathering again more safely, so that you can begin socializing and doing some other things. I would not promise that we will be able to do that in the dining rooms. The problem in the dining rooms are not the residents, because we know that none of you have COVID-19. The concern that I have and the staff has are the servers who have to work with you in the dining rooms, who would have to interact with you at close range in the dining rooms, and those are the concerns that I have. And so we're not sure how we're going to be able to move back into the dining rooms at this point, but we do think we will be able to do some other things where social activities might be able to become part of our lives again, but not endangering you and bringing you into close contact with the staff any more than we have to. So we're looking forward to it. We will make some announcements before the end of the week. I know Carmen Franzak is working on that in Chesterfield. We're working on it in Sunset Hills as well. We are anxious to get you out of your apartments and into doing some things where we can get some exercise and some activity and some fresh air and get people in the same room together so you can talk and see each other again. We want to do that. We're working on it. We're excited to be able to do this. We think we're at a point now where it's okay to do some of these things within reason and following the cautions that we need to follow. And we're excited to be able to do that. We hopefully will be able to announce some of those things again by the end of the week. Overall, we're doing well. By the time you see this video, Tim Vossi, who is our Chief Financial Officer, and I will have had our quarterly update with all of our investors who bought our bonds for our expansion project that is happening. They have historically, and we've had several individual calls with bondholders in the past week or two, and I have to tell you that they talk to organizations like us around the country all the time because they're interested in protecting their investment, as you might imagine. And without exception, these investors look at what they see with Friendship Village, and they read our updates that we provide on our website, and they see all of the announcements and all the other things that we're doing, and they're very pleased with what they see and they're very comfortable. That is not the case with many of the other organizations that they've invested in, but they're very pleased with the ability for Friendship Village to maintain its resilience in all of this. Now, as you know, and you've probably heard, we cannot go forever without making more sales for our apartments. We do have people moving around on the campuses and moving out of independent living apartments and into new accommodations. And we need to resell those. We have pretty much burned through waiting lists for our independent living apartments, and we've got to begin selling those apartments again. We've got to be able to attract more residents to the campus to look at the apartments and decide to move onto the campus. One of the great advantages and the blessings we have is that we're able to explain to these prospective residents that we don't have COVID-19 and haven't had it in our independent living units on either campus. And that's a good news story. It's a very positive thought for those prospective residents. But we still need to maintain the sales process that we've not done. We've sold only one apartment in the last 2 months. And we've got to begin building up that sales process again. So we have begun authorizing forward-leaning prospective residents to visit the campus under very close supervision and controlled circumstances, and being able to be physically escorted to particular apartments that they might be interested in and showing them those apartments. We really need to be doing this, but they still have to screen in, they have to get their temperature taken, they have to go through all the process that everybody goes through when they enter the buildings, and they are physically escorted by a member of our sales team straight to those units that they want to look at. They're not intermingling with residents, they're not coming in contact, they're maintaining all their social distancing, but we want to be able to show our apartments and our units to prospective residents so that we can maintain our occupancy across the villages, which maintains everything else that we have to do. So I understand that there's still some trepidation in having those quote-unquote visitors coming to the campus, but I assure you they are not visiting with residents sitting on the couch in your living room where COVID-19 could be spread easily. They are walking straight to an empty apartment, looking around and walking back out. They're not visiting and sitting on the couch. That's the difference between families visiting and business visitors who are here to look for an apartment. And I know that that's not what everybody wants to hear. If we can have visitors come in and look at the apartments, why can't we have family? Well, the difference is what I just explained. Family hang out in the apartment, they sit on the couch, they're coming in close contact, and that's the risk that poses by having family members come to the campus as opposed to someone who doesn't have any other connection to the campus and who's not here to visit anyone. They're here to go see something that's empty and vacant and then to leave, and then very closely monitored and escorted by our sales team. So I know that some of you get that and some of you don't get that, and some of you like it and some of you don't like it. It's a fact of life. We have to continue the business. We only started this last week. It's important for us to be able to do it, and I appreciate your understanding and your cooperation. And if you see them wandering down the hall, please feel free to say hello from a distance underneath your mask. Let them know that this is a nice place to be and a nice place to live. But otherwise, stay away from them. Don't make any contact. Don't shake their hands. Otherwise, just carry on as you normally would under our current circumstances, and everybody will be fine. I don't have much else to report this particular week. We've had good news on our mass testing in both facilities. In our village care centers, that's the only place we've done mass testing, or in the village care centers, our skilled nursing facilities on each campus. Both residents and employees, we've gotten great results, actually better results than we expected out of that. We also know that those are snapshots in time. So those COVID-19 tests are only good for the instant in time that the test is taken. Literally 10 minutes later, they can encounter a COVID-19 virus somewhere after they've just taken the test. And so we are working on plans along with the state on purposely retesting residents and staff over a period of time to make sure that we haven't caught it again. But we do know now for a brief instant in time the status of everybody in the village care centers on the campuses, and we're getting there in Sunset Hills, but we do now know in Chesterfield, and things are looking good. So again, we're proud of the staff there in Chesterfield. We're proud of the staff in Sunset Hills for all the work everybody's doing to try to keep you safe. We're proud of the staff in Fountain View, in our assisted living building in Sunset Hills, and then obviously we're proud of not just the staff in independent living on both campuses, but also all of you as the residents for having been agreeable to all of these procedures that have kept you safe. It hasn't been easy. Nobody has liked it. Nobody's enjoyed it, but it's been working, and we are very thankful for that. I hope you have a great rest of the day. If you know anybody that hasn't been able to watch this video the first time through, there will be some reruns in the next day or two. Please point them to the video. Otherwise, I still invite you to read the daily updates that I write for our website at friendshipvillagestl.com. And because those daily updates kind of give some numbers here and there, and they give you a daily update on what's going on across the campuses as far as COVID-19 goes. And there's probably no better way for you to keep up to date on that. You can refer your family and friends who are off campus to that as well. It's all on the web, easy to find and easy to access. I hope you do well. Let's continue to pray to our good Lord Jesus Christ to help us through this coronavirus crisis that we've all been facing. Overall, our campuses at Friendship Villages have been faring fairly well in the whole thing. I know we've had some residents in Chesterfield who have passed away due to complications, some of which are contributed to by the coronavirus, COVID-19. We regret that. We're sorry that they passed. We mourn their loss, but we know the good Lord has the best plans in sight, and we may not understand what that is. But overall, everybody's doing well. We're glad to see you. I hope that this has been helpful for you and informative. Again, we look very forward to being able to loosen up some of our restrictions and get some people back out in the open again and interacting with everybody, but again, on a very careful basis so that we don't start a fire that we don't want to start. It's good talking with you. I hope you have a great afternoon, and we'll talk to you again later. Thank you. Bye.